great to play with. Those are great to have. You'll master those, and those will be great pocket tools for you. Let's dive a little bit deeper before we go into the other major subjects of today. So, with the organ melt chart, the one I've got for you, that's an awful lot of words. 70% negative, 30% positive. Doesn't matter. What matters is their words. But here's what you usually see as you're doing your work. If the pituitary comes up, it's almost always an issue of stuff that's useless. Hypothalamus, useless and futile. So as you're doing these different words, you'll see these commonly come up. Really common. TMJ. People who have chronic TMJs always have a lack of foundation in their life. Where their father and their mother fought a lot, family bickering, whatever, causes TMJ problems. Fascinating. It really does. You people that chronically have your jaw lock out. Thymus. I've lost my power. Power is thymus. Who's the smartest man in the world? Tarzan. Oh, you beat that chest every day, and what happens? Power. I got power. You want power now? You want to wake up? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Oh. And tell me you don't feel different in your chest now. It's like, whoa. You ever get tired? Beat that thymus.
Or sometimes if I'm out of alignment, my yes don't work. I'll do
I like that. If I'm out of alignment, yes and no's don't work, just reground you. Absolutely true. Right on. So that's just a real powerful thing to use. The adrenal medulla. There's two parts. You got, it's like a Tootsie Pop. The middle is the medulla, outside crunchy, cortex. The adrenal medulla is 100% about being overstressed. Chaos, 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 adrenal cortex. Thyroid, paranoia, phobia, parathyroid. Who has these totally locked up all the time? Do you? So watch. It's not thyroid, it's parathyroid. If you come on over here, I'll show you something fascinating. When I was in school as a student, I never had any relief here. None. Well, I learned later it's about lost hope. If I go here, and right there, levator scapula goes from here into C3, from here to here. When you go here, it just hurts. Parathyroid. What you lost hope about? Men!
Wow.
And what did I do? I just crashed her field using Matrix. Richard Bartlett's really awesome. His wife, or significant one's good too. There it is. But I'm actually watching her lost hope go out of her body, mind, soul, and spirit right now. There is hope. And there is a man who really wants me and cares about me. And there it goes. You can feel the whole thing relax, huh?
Wow.
Any difference?
Oh, yeah.
Those of you who could never get rid of these things in your patients, that's all they ever are, is lost hope. And you think there's not lost hope now? Our society is nothing but lost hope because we lost our normal. There is no normal now. But there's lots of demand for your services. There's been a market created for you that's enormous, gigantic for this kind of work. Gigantic. I charge nothing. There's people at $200, $300 an hour in the room here. One of my friends charges $400 an hour. And he's excellent. He's not worth $400, but still, it's amazing. You are what your market says you're worth. The guy makes $2,000 a day for doing nothing. Incredible. I'm so happy for him. I really am. It's like, God, that's really cool how you did that. I'm proud of him. Lungs, grief, sadness, yearning, anguish. Bronchioles. These people who get chronic bronchial infections long for that someone in their life. Longing to be loved. Heard in our family. They long for. That actually brings on bronchitis. If you have bronchitis, what herb works? Lobelia. Way more effective than any drug ever created. You get chronic bronchitis, you get lobelia, it's gone in a week, guaranteed. I tell you that because that's the first thing my dad told me. He didn't share much with me, but that's one thing he did share when I went to school. He goes, you get your students with bronchitis, give them lobelia. Okay. That was our conversation. Pathetic. No talking. So, tonsils, dejection, diaphragm. People who just are tormented by life all the time, by their girlfriend, boyfriend, tormented by their family, their job. They don't breathe because the diaphragm is about being tormented. Big time. So the more torment you have, the less you breathe. Stomach, I can't. Stomach, something that just disgusts me. Sinuses, I regret. That's a biggie. Cardiac valve, the upper valve of the stomach is despair, which is GERD. Pyloric valve, worried and troubled. HCl, hydrochloric acid put out of the stomach, always decreases to protein deficiency and criticism, which you'll see later. Spleen is self-esteem, self-worth. Pancreas, the sweetness of life. Always use this sentence because it actually correlates with diabetes. If life was sweet and everything was great, how would your life be different? That whole engram correlates with a pancreas dysfunction that's secondary to diabetic dysfunction. It's absolutely amazing.
And pancreatic cancer?
Yes, both. Pancreatic cancer is more lacking control over the events of life. Pancreatic duct, that's a wild one. It's always feeling so low, lowliness, not loneliness, lowliness. So you got your pancreas, you got your duct with the enzymes coming out. You can touch here and they'll just jump through the ceiling. It's always feeling so low. Amazing. Liver's anger, all those big words. Probably the most words you'll see of any of the organ glands, etc., is liver. 100% of the time, ileocecal valve is rage and hate. Gallbladders, depression, resentment, forgiveness. Bile, the bile that comes out. Those of you who can't fix your bile, why? Because you're bitter. Bitterness, what's bile taste like? Bitter. Around 11:30, midnight, get that burpees. That sour, bitter taste comes up. Bile. It's not your stomach, it's bile. Mimics stomach acid dysfunction. Small intestine. Hugest word selection there is those. Huge, huge, huge. Duodenum, unfulfilled love. I can't tell you how cool that one is. Sphincter of Oddi, unloved. Look at every single flexure of the large intestine has feelings. Every part. I always use kidney with fear, dread, and doom. I always use bladder with pissed off, paralyzed, will, and terrified. Always. Prostate, uterus is suppression. Ovaries, testicle, absence of thinking and feeling or tactless. That is so huge for women with cramps. You have no idea. Gigantic when you have monthly cramps. Because that uterus responds to the feeling of suppression. Uteruses go like this and like this every month. Fill with blood, empty the blood like a pump. Unfortunately, when you get suppression, it changes this muscle bag called the uterus and it tilts, flops. As it flops, it tries to get rid of the blood. What happens? When there's a kink in the neck, that cramps and the blood can't drain, so you get cramps.
And then you get a long period.
You get a long period, and it's painful. Because the body's trying to get rid of this. All you do is lift the doggone uterus, unwind it with the emotion of suppression, and it never comes back. Question?
Yeah, I'm curious. So I have a friend and she basically had cramps like every day.
Every day.
She had endometriosis. She ended up getting a partial
Sure.
hysterectomy, and now the cramps there are gone.
Nice.
So if modern medicine cuts that out and takes it away,
Yes.
do you find that it will manifest somewhere else in the body?
If
in a
it's
different way?
endometriosis, definitely.
Like, I mean, because that doesn't really get rid of her emotion of suppression. So.
No, it'll go somewhere else.
Right.
The more you suppress, the more the body finds a way to go, hey, don't you get it? And it
So
will.
you find that it'll move somewhere else.
It'll manifest in another location, in another way, another disease potential.
Another disease.
It's guaranteed. The body keeps giving you messages, don't you hear me? And it'll keep doing that till you listen. That's why your pains get worse and worse. Don't you hear me? Well, just quit doing the pain. Everything's better. Everything's better. Find the source of the pain. It's gone. Your turn, Rob. Guess what you get to do? Tell everybody your miracle story. Remember the guy with the pain?
Which
The
one?
guy with the pain. They told me about it, you know?
The-
Yeah, that's a great story.
So,
Come on. Big boys talking microphones.
well, last Wednesday I had a patient come in.
Great story.
She can't move. She can't move any joint in her body.
I love
And
this
then
story.
she's on like mixed doses of prednisone. She can't bend, she can't flex, she can't move her legs or toes or her neck, anything. Her whole face was covered in psoriasis, like, I mean, so thick, and so white and scaly. It was, she looked like she had raccoon eyes. This was a week ago Wednesday. And the doctors told her it was medically induced lupus. She was on Humira, and still growth.
Fresh.
So we pulled that.
Fresh.
Found frequency, pulled that out of the body, did this stuff, and just worked on her. Excuse me?
The emotional melt stuff?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Did you start with the frequency of psoriasis, or do you?
No, the drugs, the medication.
Okay.
Pulled the Humira out, because this, she got, she couldn't move her joints a few days after these drugs. So, I did go into blood, did some stuff with blood, did some spiritual stuff, pulled some, nasties off her. And basically her body was done. And, there was no more to do. She was just, no. Now, I use the name Jesus Christ. When I do my stuff, in the name of Jesus Christ, I do this stuff. And her mom was going, oh, Dr. Nolan, I mean, she was so passionate. It was just really awesome. And I said, your faith is going to make her well. Anyway, she gets up. She's still the same. She's exactly the same pain. She started crying. Because there was no change. I said, just give it a little time. Well, she came in Friday. There was nothing on her face. It was totally clear. She was walking, moving. 90% of the pain was gone. And I go, so wow. She was coming in, her mom, they were praising God. Everybody in my office, my waiting room was full. It was what a testimony. But I go, so how did it happen for you? And so she goes, well, that night, I went to bed. She got up in the middle of the night and she sat up. And she goes, whoa, I'm at vent without prednisone. She was still in a lot of pain, but she moved. So she scooted down the end of the bed. Her legs fell off the bed, and her feet went right to the floor, knees bent. Oh my God, I am moving. And but she was still in a lot of pain. She gets up, goes to the bathroom. She comes back. She goes back to sleep. She gets up in the morning, 90% no pain. Her face was cleared out. She walked in my office. I mean, I wish I took a picture of her when she walked in. The joy, the happiness, they're just going nuts. It was just awesome.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Hail.
And it was this stuff we did.
That's connection. That's all. It's also belief. There's a lot to be said when your patients really believe in you. That the healing, it's not false, but it's more than what you do. When they believe in you that strongly, they just love him. Just love him. And that's exactly what heals the pain, is the love. It's incredible. It's such a good story. I just love that story. Nice job, buddy. I love those kind of things. So, that's where you usually find the big ones. Big words, etc. And moving on, this is what I have. I use lists of really powerful organs and the muscles. Because every single one of your glands, some of your valves, they all have muscles attached to them that are very powerful, that totally relate with them. So that's the list that I use. It's in your book. Kidneys, psoas, lungs, deltoid, all these things. You'll just look over it and see it, but they're in your appendix. So they're very good. So if you bilaterally stimulate them, like both your deltoids, if both these go weak when you wipe them, that's your shoulders, your deltoids, and there's a weak muscle, you got a lung problem. So it's a nice little list for you to see and evaluate. Cool stuff. Now, interesting as far as rules go, let's say you got a pain in the left hip on the right, the right hip, that it hurts when you're walking. Now, that could be anything, but generally speaking, how these things are organized is that anything dealing with a right-sided issue will be a guy thing. So you can have a right-sided pain and having your husband get on your case while you get a right hip pain, because that usually deals with guilt. Or you could have a left arm pain right here, and that deals with women, if you're a guy, giving you grief or something. It's just things happening on one side of the body without direct trauma tend to relate emotional origin. So if it's on the left side, it deals with women, right side, it deals with men. On both sides, it's usually something with the organs involved with the muscles. It's just an easy rule for you to remember. That's all. So, like both, anything can cause anything is what you need to know. But it generally speaks that if you get a pain in one area out of nowhere, you're likely to have an issue with how it generates based on an organ like this, bilateral. Physical, emotional. Good. Pelvises are pretty interesting. Come on back, you can't go there yet. Right there. Now, a lot of these are very cool, moving forward in life, this and that. That's the most common one you'll see, is right on the tail of the coccyx, threatened. A lot of you who have your patients, your family, your friends, who have issues with feeling threatened, have tailbone pain. So the more threatened you feel, the more your pain goes right there and you can't sit down. It just hurts to sit, threatened. A lot, you'll see that. These words are everywhere in the body.